Talking with Words.
All right.
Make sure. Yeah. All right.
I love that shirt, by the way. The snake shirt. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Really cool.
Hey, everybody. Talking with Words. We're here with Jake Abraham, who just put out. How long has this been complete?
It's been complete. Let's see. We finished it around June, so however
Okay.
many that is. Yeah.
So it's still pretty fresh.
It's still fairly fresh, yeah.
Yeah. So Jake put out a short called Daddy Warbucks. And tell us about it.
Okay, well, the short, yes, it's called Daddy Warbucks. It's set in the early 1950s. It's set in Louisiana, post World War II, and the central story or conflict or whatever you want to call it revolves around an old man who's meeting with a group of mortgage bankers, and he is unknowingly having his house sold out from under him. And then certain things are revealed, and I guess sort of the true nature of the con is revealed, and things sort of spiral out of control, I'd say. And I guess we're talking spoilers, right? So that's
whatever you're comfortable shouting out there, because I've got spoiler questions.
Okay, awesome. So then, I'll stop with all the vague stuff. So it turns out over the course of the story, this guy is sent in to talk to this old man about what he thinks is him selling his house, when in reality, the old man doesn't realize that his house is being sold out from under him. And as the conflict escalates, it's revealed that the old man's own son is sort of selling the house out from under him, and it becomes sort of like a familial drama. And then it sort of escalates, and then it really becomes sort of a father-son story. And then this guy who's trapped in the middle of it and who's basically just doing his job, and then he's kind of thrown out of that and just sort of left adrift because he loses his job. And then from there it sort of ends. So yeah.
And I really like the way this was shot. It looked great.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. My cinematographer, his name's Mark Ragunton. I've known him for I think 3 years now. He's really great. DP producer. He really fosters along young talent, and he's a great guy to have in your corner. So I really appreciate that, because there was a lot of thought put into this period look and this design. So
Right.
I'm glad it came through.
Yeah, and we were just saying that what's Cotton Yancey?
Yeah,
How was he to work with?
Cotton is great. He's a great guy. He's a man of many talents. What else does he do? He's a musician. He's like a cowboy. He does all sorts of things. He's many talents. But as an actor, he's such a, in the movie, he's really aggressive and kind of menacing, but in real life, he's such a soft guy. And you know what I mean? And he's a really sweet guy. And I remember on set, he had such an interest in what we were doing, because, it's hard to get people to sort of imagine what things are going to look like when they're there, because a lot of short films can be kind of, unprofessional, for lack of a better word. And we really wanted to set a standard early on that we were going to be the real deal, and try to accommodate our cast and crew. And so when he saw the equipment we were working with and the sets we had, he was just so enamored with the whole thing. And he had such a great attitude and was so willing to like talk to people and, just be a curious guy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, everybody did a good job.
Yeah, thank you. I agree.
Kerry Malloy, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it.
That was solid. Every shot.
I love Kerry, and he's somebody that I guess I can say that I'm hoping to work with him again. Kerry's great. Has such a versatility. He's been he's worked with Martin Scorsese. I mean, he was in The Wolf of Wall Street. He was in Daredevil on Netflix. He was in House of Cards. I mean, the guy has, he's had a good career. He's seen a lot of talented people. And it was just so cool to work with someone like him. And we developed a really interesting back and forth, more so in post-production. And I would basically send him cuts and send him things, and he would sort of respond with, "This is shit," or "This is good." You know what I mean? He's very, very, cutthroat with his notes and his opinions. And working with people like that is great, because that they're not in it for their own ego. They're in it for the betterment of the project.
Right.
And so I'm like, I'd work with him 1,000 times.
Yeah. I mean, he looked the part. I was really impressed with what he did with the little. I mean, you've got 20 minutes to sell this character,
Right.
and he's a war vet, but he's also very mousy, especially in the beginning when he's figuring out what's going on, and as it gets more dramatic, just the way he unfolds that character was done very well.
I'm very glad to hear that, and I agree with you. He's very kind of dodgy about his opinion on his performance, but it's good to hear that other people like it. And I always tell him, I'm like, it's good work, and he'll be like, whatever. But yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And then you did I guess we can call it a cameo. You were in it a couple times. You had the one line. You just, I mean, I do the same thing. I'll always find something for me to put myself in, even if I'm not going to be a big part of the movie.
Well, I respect your cojones for that, because that was not my preference. We had an actor, and a couple days before shooting, and I kind of saw this coming. He just had another project and had to drop out, and thankfully he was like almost exactly my size. So I was like, okay, well, who does the costume fit? It's me. So I sort of stepped in there. And there's actually a shot. I mean, you'd never be able to tell in a million years, but there's a shot towards the beginning where the waiter is standing to the back of Cotton, and that's actually PJ Sasko, the guy who plays the son, because I had to be behind camera. So I was like, you step in for one shot. And he was like, motherfucker, you want me to step in for one shot? I was like, please, dude, please. But it worked out.
Yeah, it looked good.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So I'm curious, what was your inspiration for writing this and putting this short together?
That's a good question. It was, I wrote it in what was it, 2022, I want to say. Yeah. It was almost a year after I had graduated from high school, in 2022, and I was kind of I'd made a short already, wasn't thrilled with it, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of say screw it and do something kind of out there. And I was watching a lot of this is a really sort of niche genre, but I was watching a lot of movies that were adapted from plays. And I was just really into that sort of style, like capturing this sort of, old-fashioned blocking and dialogue and this very elegant way of moving. And, just it's like sort of, there's an artifice to the behavior that I just really like and I find compelling. And it just sort of came out from that, me trying to imitate that and do something kind of stagey. And also, I love period stuff. I'm a sucker. I saw a movie last night that was a period piece, and it looked very period. And I was, I told myself, I was like, I like this already, just because I'm a sucker for that sort of thing. But yeah, it was really that, and just and also my father's side of the family is from Louisiana. The town is actually set where he grew up. And so it was just like a storm of things that just sort of came together, and I was like, this seems doable. There's no huge CGI or special effects or anything. So why don't I just, find some good actors and give it a shot, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you, I guess that was one of the notes that was on the movie was that your family was from Sulphur.
Yeah,
Or your
yeah, that's
dad's
right.
family, I guess, was from Sulphur.
Yeah,
Where did you guys shoot it? In
yeah.
Texas?
Yeah, that's well, yes, we shot it um in and around DFW. We shot in Dallas, Fort Worth, DeSoto, and the restaurant is actually in Frisco, Texas. Um, so yeah, it's interesting to people from there have told me they're like, where did you guys shoot that? And I'll be like, well, I kind of have to worm my way around that a little bit. But no, it's a Texas film through and through.
Yeah. And we've talked to a couple people. We went down to the Dallas Film Festival, the International Film
yeah?
Festival, and I didn't realize how big that area had gotten for film.
Yeah, I mean it's I'll say this, it's definitely coming up. I think from what I've seen, I have a lot of friends who shoot stuff here, and I'm always surprised at the body of work that these people have and the amount of talent. I'm like, wow, why aren't you a lot higher than where you are? Because I mean, you're talented and you have this, like I said, a body of work. But I think it is slowly starting to kind of creep up in as far as the Texas film market goes. I would say it's honestly second to maybe Austin or even Houston. I don't know. It's coming up for sure.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of cowboy stuff when we were down there.
Yeah.
Some of the guys, Ted
Cute.
was telling us about all the cowboy and ranch stuff that they have just outside of town for filming now, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I worked on a show. It was one of the Taylor Sheridan shows. One of the Yellowstone spinoffs is called Bass Reeves.
Yeah.
I worked on that for its entirety, and that it was so great to have a show that was shooting here in the neighboring cities. So yeah, I agree with you that things are definitely growing for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, and we already this is one of the other questions following up on the why this movie and this timepiece, and you said you like the historical stuff. You're a younger guy. I'm always surprised to see period pieces and just straight character storytelling as opposed to I always want to cover something in blood or have a horror twist to something I'm writing. Is that in your mind something easier to do, or is it just this is developed and that was what it became?
Well, you've struck a nerve here because I'm actually I've just finished a script that's very much a character piece, and it's short films are hard,
Yeah.
because I mean that's really the films that I like and the films that affect me are character films. Like that's what gets me wanting to do this, is when I see a film about a character and it's really insightful, or I feel like I've learned something about a life that doesn't even exist, you know what I mean? And so that's something that I always strive towards, and sometimes with shorts that's not always what people are looking for.
Right.
It's I'm trying to talk about this as, I guess, diplomatically as possible, but it can be hard to get that kind of thing made and seen, but at the same time I feel like if that's what I want to do, a lot of it's probably going to end up being my own money, so screw it, I might as well just shoot for it, I guess.
Yeah, we understand that very well.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And also there is some blood, I guess, with the drink is kind of
Yeah.
that, so I guess that sort of fits both needs, and I definitely marketed it with the blood being real. So hopefully people aren't too disappointed when they see that and they're like, oh, it's just a cocktail, really?
Yeah, I just need that car and the marketing. That some of those shots with the car are pretty damn good.
Oh yeah, the car was great. Those were we got two actually. One of them we cut from the thing, which was, but the one we got is a real beauty. And it just adds so much. People see those. I remember the day we had those for one day, and the day we had them, I remember people sort of started to kind of be like, oh, okay, this is real. This isn't just a couple people screwing around,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your I think you said you graduated high school 2020, 2021, somewhere in there.
21, yeah.
Yeah. So what's kind of your background since then? Did you go to film school or just immediately go into working on stuff, or like kind of what got you started in the, making shorts, writing scripts, all that stuff?
It's a good question. I was in high school, I was in the film class, and I remember in middle school, me and my friends, we just started shooting little crappy, not even films, like skits, I guess, on our phones. And I was just really into it and trying to make them good, even though they weren't. And I was always, kicking myself because they sucked because we didn't put the time or the money into them. And then in high school, I just started, I was writing scripts a lot and just making stuff, and it still wasn't great. And then I graduated, and I met a couple of the right people. Mark, my producer, cinematographer, being one of them, and he helped produce and shoot my first project, which was in 2021. And that one tanked, but it was a great first thing, to get out of your system. And honestly, that's, if as far as creative endeavors go in film, I mean, this is, it's an old adage, but making stuff is the best way to go about it. Not waiting for someone to give you the go ahead, just getting together people and resources, and just, and you can, I mean, from my experience, just talking a good game and knowing what you're talking about, it really gets people confident, even if they're not exactly sure what you're up to, So that's just what I've done. And I've just really just met the right people, and just had a clear opinion about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to tell, I guess.
And on the end of that, I don't think people know how hard it is to get just people together to do a short film.
Yeah.
90% of when we do it, it's the two of us in a room talking about what we need to tweak, how we're going to shoot it, which changes however many 100 times once we find our location and everything else. And finding people, much less camera operators and everything else. I mean, you had at least a little bit of understanding and money, which makes this, it takes it up a next level. It's not a YouTube. We shot it on our iPhone short film.
Right. Yeah. No, it was. And what comes with that usually is a lot of waiting around, and sometimes heartbreak, because it's like, oh man, I don't have the resources I need right now. But I am a big believer in, if you want to do it right, you can't really skimp on these things. If you can make it work, if you can put together the money. For this one, I funded it partially myself, and then I did a crowdfunding, and we didn't even hit our goal, but we got some traction, and from that, it was kind of like, okay, well, let's just give it a shot, and hopefully we don't lose all the money. And we did, we cut a lot of corners, and we got some lucky breaks, like the restaurant, Randy's Steakhouse in Frisco, very cool place. We shot there for 3 days for free. and that was a huge help. And you know
Yeah.
that kind of saved us, because if we had to pay for that, probably wouldn't have worked. But you know, it's just it's just a combination of being prepared and being lucky, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have any insights, I guess, that you took away from this project that stuck with you and changed something that you're going to do next time or not do next time?
Oh, good question. Insights. I mean, I've always been, you know, you always hear, oh, a movie can't work without a good script and good acting, and I've always told myself that, like, yeah, obviously it can't work. And then I shot my first film, and neither were good, and it was not good, and I was really shocked. I was like, well, you know, that can't be. But it's like, no, you didn't have the foundation, so of course, what else could it be, you know? And so for this one, I really wanted to make sure the script was right, and my number one priority in pre-production was casting this thing properly. And from that, we decided to go SAG, and they have sort of a little, I guess, loophole. It's called the SAG micro budget. And from that, if your project is under $20,000, then you can negotiate with SAG talent and find a rate that fits you. And that was huge, because then the talent pool opens up, you know, so significantly. And from that, I was able to work with these actors who were very professional and have experience, and really elevated the quality of the film, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. Another thing I know that we've seen, because as every time we finish a project, we're like, okay, so we need to upgrade this. We need to remember not to cut when we yell cut. Let's hold off another 5 seconds, 10 seconds, because there's always that chance. When you do audio sound for the actors, this was better than some of the stuff we saw at TIFF in Dallas. There was no drops, nothing like that. Is that credit to your sound team? Is that something you guys paid close attention to?
Yeah, that's always, whenever I'm there on the day, I'm not paying as much attention to it. The only time I really had to pay attention to it was when we were doing that gas station scene, because we'd have people driving by and, you know, honking, and they'd be like, fuck you. And we'd be like, thank you. Thanks, guys. You know, in the middle of a take with my actors who are, you know, legit. And I'm sitting there embarrassed, like, oh, God, you know, like, please, guys, don't leave, you know? And that proved to be, that was our only, like, sort of dicey moment with sound. But I had a great guy. His name was Elijah Bassett. He was our sound recordist. He held the boom. And he picked up some great sound. And then for post-production, I actually went to Austin, to a studio. They do Richard Linklater's movies. It's called Soundcrafter, and I worked with a sound designer. Her name is Morgan Honecker. She's great. And we did a full, we did a stereo mix, and then we were in a booth, and we did a surround mix, and we just watched the film, and I'd say, okay, stop. And I'd go, I want this tweaked. I want this lowered. I want this raised. You know, I want this little subtle sound to come in. And so that's really what it is. Just hiring someone good on set, and then hiring someone good for post-production. And those two things, just kind of made it work, you know?
Yeah. That's cool. I didn't know they did the booths for the surround sound.
Yeah, and that was so much fun. I remember that day just being like, oh my God. I was trying to be cool, you know, because, you know, she does this every day, but I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. You know, seeing the film on the screen, and then, okay, stop and tweak this, you know. But yeah, that was such a blast. Really makes it worth it when something like that happens, because you're like, okay, this wasn't for nothing. You know, this is legit. This feels legit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sulfur. Okay, so we talked about your more favorite roles and stuff like that, and the types of movies and things with, especially with the play. When you said that, that made so much sense. Seeing how it was blocked,
Good. Glad to hear
it
that.
felt like a stage play movie. I mean, exactly what you said. You nailed that for sure.
Thank you.
What if not making movies, not writing? What are some of like your go-to for if you're going to sit down and just watch something? Like
Ooh.
movies, TV, uh, that kind of stuff. What inspires you just outside of the creative, the piece of it, the entertainment part?
As far as what, like what other art forms or
Sure, yeah. I mean, just anything that come like I have people have inspiration from a horror movie that ends up being a love story. Is there any of that cross
Oh.
connection with other things? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Let's see.
Too broad of a question to.
No. It's a good question because it's making me think like what kind of gets me going in that way. I don't know. I mean, I definitely like to read, and if something kind of grabs me, and I can sort of picture it and hear it and see it, that's always great. Music, of course. Yeah, I mean, music always. I think that's a pretty go-to answer. But even, like history is always great. As I don't want to sound too trite, but I guess knowing what's going on in the world is good.
Yeah, being connected.
Right. Yeah. To a certain extent.
And this had when I watched the first time, it had a little bit of a feel of a like a Tarantino conversation piece in parts.
Oh, really? Okay.
The way the back and forth with the dialogue, and especially you had a long pause early on that you took a minute, let it breathe, and it felt like one of those dialogue scenes that you hold on to, and you just is somebody going to throw a punch, or
Right.
that tension rises, and you did that very well.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, hey, being compared to Tarantino, there's a lot worse. You know what I mean? He's great, so I appreciate that. I wasn't writing it thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do Tarantino, but I love the that's great to hear. So thank you.
And yeah, I mean, you have, especially in shorts, you only have so much time to sell this thing,
Right.
and this one was so dialogue. It was dialogue heavy, but it wasn't weighted by it, if that makes sense. Which is where that comparison, because you have people going back and forth like that,
Right.
and then when it gets to the father and son, like that whole sequence, you're not looking at your phone or anything. That's one of those where okay, they're controlling the screen with that conversation. I thought that was really cool.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's something that I'm always being told to ease up on is the dialogue. And I think there might be a point to that. But also, it's like if that's what just comes out naturally, shouldn't that be style or whatever you want to call it? That's part of Tarantino's style. Or David Mamet or Tennessee Williams, whoever. They write good dialogue. And I think that's just is as valid as any other form of what you could call style. So I'm glad that was good. I'm glad you were moved by it to some extent.
Yeah.
So
And it plays back to again the play thing where all you really have is the actors and the dialogue and
Right.
minimal. I mean, in this case, you had excellent, setting, and the props and everything looked great, but the dialogue itself helped drive it.
That's good. That's really good to hear. Yeah, I mean, to go back to what you said about characters and dialogue. I mean, to me, that's like it's a challenge for sure, but to me, that's like the interesting stuff. I'm very interested in actors and just how they think and how they approach things and how they interpret a character. And to me, these things give way to the meaning of the story and good characters. And that, to me, that's what interests me when I watch something. When I go, oh, I get what this is trying to say, and I get who these people are, and I can empathize with them. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are you working on anything next? Or what do you have coming up?
Yeah, I mean, let me think. So I wrote a script for a friend to direct. It's called Ode to Joy. It's set in a concert hall. We're hoping to shoot it here, and it's about a musician, and then it's kind of takes a shift into something more thrillery kind of genre. And I wrote it for my friend Gopal Bala. He's a great local filmmaker. You guys should check him out. He's always doing cool stuff. And we got accepted with that into this program. It's called the Rickshaw Program. It's sort of it sort of fosters South Asian filmmakers. And so we're doing that right now, and we're kind of developing the project within those confines. And then also for myself, I'm currently workshopping a script I have. It's called Camelot by Proxy. It's modern, and it's set in one night, and it's about actually, this is like kind of people kind of go, oh, when I say this, but it's like it's about a fictional governor of Texas, and it's just like spending a night with him, sort of, and like kind of seeing where it goes. And so I'm hoping to get that off the ground. We applied to the Austin Film Society grant, so fingers crossed. I say that now, it's kind of premature. In case I don't get it, I'll be like, "Oh, that's embarrassing." But fingers crossed, right?
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'm just trying to stay busy with projects and just keep sort of working and hoping to work with Carrie again. We'll see. Again, if that doesn't work out, another embarrassing soundbite from this. But yeah, like I said, just trying to keep the creative stuff going, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's like I tell my kids, it's like a muscle, if you keep at it, then you learn stuff even when you don't even know you're learning anything, and you improve. It's when you stop that hurts your momentum, especially with writing and filmmaking and things like that. You forget those little things that you're teaching yourself as you go along.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And that's a lot easier to keep up with writing. I find it, I don't know about you guys, but I find it really hard to do with, being on set and filmmaking, because, it doesn't happen. It's not like you just sit down and do it. You have to, gather so many resources and people and ideas, and you have to have, such a clarity of vision, I guess. But yes, that is the goal anyways, to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, that's awesome. The other question I had, the drink toss, was that one take?
Oh man. Oh, that was so brutal. I remember I was sitting behind the camera, almost like not watching. I was so, because we had, I want to say 2 or 3 shirts for him to change. Once it's hit, it's done. So
Right.
And we had, I remember we did the first take, and it was like it just wasn't working. The back and forth wasn't working, and then the second one, it worked, but then somebody flubbed a line, and I remember going, "Oh no!" And then my AD came up to me and she went, "Oh, we got it. Let's go. Let's move on." I was like, "No, the line is flubbed." She went, "The line wasn't flubbed." And then the actor comes up and goes, "I'm sorry, guys, I flubbed the line." And I went, "Take 3." And so in that third take, it was our last shirt, and we actually had to. I'm sure it's obvious when you see it, but we had to dye the cocktail because we practiced with an actual Bloody Mary drink, and it was barely even noticeable. You couldn't hardly tell a difference. It just looked like water stain, honestly. So we had to. Our production designer made a little red dye concoction, and then we got that third take down, and it was like, okay, well, that's all we got. Let's hope it works. It's never like, at least in my experience, I'm never like, Eureka, we got it. It's just like, okay, fingers crossed, So yeah, that was definitely an exciting but nerve-wracking shot for sure.
As someone who does film, every time I've seen it, I'm like, I wonder how many times it took and how frustrated he got trying to get that one shot.
Yeah, and everyone was telling me, well, Jake, we should maybe cut into it so we can play with it a little more. And I'm kind of stubborn, so I was like, no, we're not cutting it. It's going to be a oneer. We're doing one take, and it worked. I should have listened. Maybe we should cut it a little bit, but it worked, and I stuck with it. So I guess that's a testament to sticking with what you want, even if it doesn't make total sense sometimes. I guess I don't know.
Well, and in my opinion, those shots that you hold and you don't cut are so much more effective. Our last project, I remember we finished and wrapped on everything. I was like, man, I wish I hadn't cut those 2 spots and just let it roll.
Right.
You get way more out of it, and like that delivered exactly, I think, what you wanted to. And it stood out to me from the film part of me. It was like, yeah. Got it.
stick with the long take. Yeah. I'm glad that came through, because that was definitely intentional, and I like long takes. I think they're interesting, and there's just a lot you can do within those. So yeah, it's more for the film person side of me than the logistical side of me. But yeah, I'm glad you appreciated that. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you got the couple of questions that anything else you want to share with us? Let us know. You said you got a couple scripts you're working on. Anything else going on? Future projects, plans that you want to
plugs, etc.
Oh, okay. Let me think. Is there anything? It's really just that right now.
Is there a place that people can go watch this? I know we got a link.
That's the we're doing the festival circuit right now.
Okay.
And they want everything to be private links. Anybody who wants it, I'll send it right away. I don't care. But for on paper, we want it to be really, it's exclusive. But then it's like, it's not. It's a 20-minute film. Like, so yeah. I mean, if anyone wants to see it, I'm more than happy to share. And hoping sometime next year I'll just make it public, so anyone who wants to see can just search it up and see it. Really. So yeah, fingers crossed on the festival stuff. That's such a hard game, so political, very tricky, but we'll see. We'll see.
We might call you when we get to that point for some insight. That we haven't done a festival yet, but we're getting close.
That's great.
And this will be our virgin run. So
yeah, I'm honestly, to be honest with you, I'm right there with you guys. Festivals are really hard to get into, especially the ones that you want to get into. So I'm
right.
I have friends that have gotten into really great stuff, and I'm doing the same. I'm just like calling them like, hey, who did you talk to? Who did you kiss up to? but no, I definitely, I'm always willing to talk about, what I know and what I don't know, I guess. So, yeah.
Which is just as important in that world.
Absolutely. Yes. There's a lot that, I've had some rude awakenings for sure. I think everybody has, but yeah. But yeah.
Do you have any festivals on the schedule coming up?
Not not right now. And I say that now because we finished ours basically right when many of the major festivals closed their entries, or they had already done ours. We finished ours at a weird time in the year, because most of the big ones that I was looking to I had either finished or closed their entries for the year. So what I'm having to do now is apply for next year's festivals. So I haven't really heard much back yet, but hoping that'll change, especially with Texas-based festivals. Obviously you have contacts there, and they'll, kind of not do you a favor, but you know what I mean. It can be very political, and sometimes that's hard to. I'm going on a tangent here, but I'm just kind of in the period where I'm just like, oh, festivals, it can get really discouraging. Yeah, go ahead.
Lots of submissions and playing the waiting game right now.
Yeah, a lot of money, a lot of time, but that's the game, right? That is the game.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Do you mind sticking around? We'll go ahead and wrap this. And all right. Yep. Anything else?
No, I think we covered it all.
We'll hopefully have you back on again.
Yeah, absolutely. This was great. I thank you guys so much. Y'all had some great questions. It was a lot of fun. I would love to come back.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And then we'll chat here after this. But Daddy Warbucks is the film, and hopefully we'll be able to provide a link or something for it after, or whatever, so other people can go see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if this would be of any help, but I do have a trailer for it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I could send that to you. That's public. You can find that pretty much anywhere. So yeah,
that'd be great.
I can throw that in the intro to this pod, so we can have that in the beginning there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, Jake, thanks so much.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Ryan. It was great. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I feel like an old person. I don't know where the recording button is.